Nobody walks into a baby shower carrying a grudge, a revoked license, and a hit list, but that is exactly where this story starts, and by the end of this video, you are going to understand why the most dangerous person at Blueface and Nevaeh's celebration was never even on the guest list. She was outside. On live. Screaming for a fade. And what happened over the next several hours exposed a setup so calculated, so cynical, that even the people who designed it completely lost control of it. Stay locked in, because what the internet is calling a jealous ex crashing a party is actually something much uglier, a business arrangement that detonated in everybody's face, and a little boy's name being used as the weapon. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. If this is your first time here, do me one favor, hit that like button on your way in, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the notification bell so you never miss a drop, because the way this story is moving, there will absolutely be a part 2. Today we are talking about Chrisean Jr. We are talking about Nevaeh. We are talking about Blueface. And yes, we are talking about Chrisean Jr., because that baby's name got dragged into the middle of a situation that, when you really break it down piece by piece, was never actually about him at all. And I am going to prove that to you with the timeline, because the timeline does not lie, even when everybody involved is lying. So let's set the scene. Yesterday, Blueface and Nevaeh threw a full-scale baby shower. And I do not mean a little backyard kickback with a balloon arch and a folding table, I mean a real event. His side of the family pulled up. Her side of the family pulled up. Decorations everywhere, gifts stacked up, cameras rolling from every angle. And credit where credit is due, Nevaeh looked absolutely stunning. That woman is days away from giving birth, and she was glowing. Everybody in that building looked like they were having a genuinely beautiful time. Everybody except one person who was not there yet. Blueface. The father of the hour. The man this entire event was partially built around, strolled into his own child's baby shower close to 3 hours late. 3 hours. Late. And where was he? He was across town, with Chrisean Jr. Now I need you to let that single detail marinate, because that one fact is the key that unlocks this whole story. The man of the celebration did not sneak in a little late from traffic. He did not get held up at the store grabbing balloons. He was with Chrisean, the same Chrisean who, hours later, would be standing outside that very baby shower promising to put hands on anybody willing to defend the pregnant woman of honor. If that sounds insane to you, good. It should. Because it is. But it is also exactly the kind of insane that makes perfect sense once you understand what was really going on behind the scenes, and we are going to get all the way into it. Now, if you have been following this triangle, and at this point it is less of a love triangle and more of a whole geometry problem, you already know that Chrisean Jr. and Nevaeh have been trading shots for weeks. Subs, lives, interviews, little digs here and there. But the shot that detonated this particular war was Nevaeh going on camera and calling Chrisean a baby disabler. And Nevaeh did not whisper it. Nevaeh stood on it. She is from Baltimore, she reminded everybody of that, and she looked directly into that lens and made it plain, in her view, Chrisean Jr.'s struggles traced directly back to decisions his own mother made. That clip went everywhere. Every blog page ran it. Every reaction channel chopped it up. And according to the narrative Chrisean Jr. is pushing right now, today, this week, on every live she has done since, that comment, and only that comment, is the reason she pulled up to a pregnant woman's baby shower ready to fight. That is her story. She is standing 10 toes down on it. And by the time this video is over, I am going to walk you through exactly why that story collapses under the lightest pressure, because the sequence of events tells a completely different truth than the one Chrisean is selling. But first, we have to talk about the drop-off. Because the drop-off is where the mask slips clean off. Footage from that day shows Chrisean Jr. behind the wheel, driving, personally delivering Blueface to the baby shower. She was the one operating the vehicle. And that matters. That matters a whole lot. Because that very same morning, the morning of the baby shower, Chrisean had court. And do you know what that court date was about? Her license. A license the state has already revoked. So let me make this crystal clear for the people in the back. Hours after standing in front of a judge over a driver's license she no longer legally holds, Chrisean Jr. climbed into the driver's seat and chauffeured Blueface to his baby shower like none of that applied to her. She was not supposed to be driving herself around the corner to the store, let alone playing personal driver for the father of her child. But that is the thing about Chrisean, and this is a pattern, not a moment. Rules are for other people. Court is for the morning. The afternoon is for whatever Chrisean wants to do. And here is where I need everybody to lean in, because this is the part almost every other channel covering this story is getting dead wrong. The framing everywhere else is that Chrisean Rock crashed this baby shower. That she stormed up uninvited. That she went rogue, pulled up out of pure jealousy, and ambushed a pregnant woman on her big day. That is not what happened. Chrisean did not crash anything. Chrisean was expected. Let me say that one more time, slowly, because it changes the entire chemistry of this story. She was expected. If you have been rocking with this channel, none of this surprised you, because I told you this before any of it went down. People inside that circle, people who move around Chrisean personally, made it known that Blueface had already arranged for Chrisean to be at that baby shower. This was pre-planned. Coordinated. On the itinerary. The only variable nobody in that equation could control was Nevaeh. Because here is the thing, Nevaeh knew too. Let us be fair to her, because fairness matters when we are breaking something down forensically. Nevaeh was aware that Chrisean was coming to that baby shower. And by all accounts, she had made her peace with it, or at the very least, she had made her peace with tolerating it. What Nevaeh never agreed to was rolling out a red carpet. There is a difference between knowing somebody is coming to your event and opening your front door to them with open arms like long-lost family. Nevaeh was willing to stomach the first one. She was never going to perform the second one. And that right there, is where the entire arrangement collapsed. See, the plan, according to everybody orbiting this situation, was soft and simple. Chrisean arrives. Nevaeh greets her. Maybe some awkward smiles, maybe a hug for the cameras, everybody acts grown, and the two women in Blueface's life share one peaceful afternoon under one roof. Kumbaya with a balloon arch. And on paper, maybe that sounds mature. Progressive, even. But paper is not people, and people do not run on paper. Chrisean Rock showed up expecting a coronation. She got a closed door. Now clock the timeline with me, because the timeline is the entire case. Nevaeh made that baby disabler comment before the baby shower. Before. Meaning if that comment was truly the match that lit this whole fire, if Chrisean was genuinely riding for Junior's honor the way she keeps claiming, then she would have pulled up to that baby shower already blazing. She would have been banging on that door from the moment she arrived demanding Nevaeh stand on what she said about her son. That is what a mother who feels her child was attacked does. She addresses it immediately. She does not schedule around it. But that is not what the footage shows. That is not what the witnesses describe. When Chrisean first arrived at that baby shower, there was no smoke. No confrontation at the door. No demands. By every account, she pulled up expecting to walk in and participate. She came ready to be a guest, not a problem. The rage came later. The rage came after the door stayed closed. The rage came after Nevaeh declined to come out, greet her, embrace her, or film a single second of content with her. So let us be precise about what actually set Chrisean Rock off that day. It was not a comment about her son. It was a bruised ego. It was a woman standing outside a party she believed she had been promised entry into, watching the guest of honor refuse to acknowledge her existence. That is the wound. Everything else, and I mean everything, is decoration Chrisean hung on that wound after the fact. And then it went from bad to frightening, because Chrisean got on live. And I want to describe what the world watched happen on that live stream, because clips do not always capture the energy of a moment. Chrisean Rock, outside this baby shower, announced to her entire audience that she had not been bluffing about pulling up. She made a point of saying she was not coming for the pregnant woman, no, in her framing, she wanted whoever was willing to love Nevaeh enough to fight for her. Whoever had been running their mouth about her son, in her words, had to get the fade. She reminded everybody watching that she had put hands on Blueface himself, more than once, by her own admission, for running his mouth, and if Blueface did not get a pass, nobody else was getting one either. Then she started calling for reinforcements. On camera. She got on the phone with Marsh, telling Marsh they needed a car, telling Marsh to pull up, rallying people to come join her outside this baby shower. Her energy was not the energy of somebody defending a child's dignity. It was the energy of somebody assembling a crew. And let me pause right here, because this deserves its own moment of silence in the middle of all this noise. Chrisean was willing to escalate a physical confrontation at an event built around an unborn child. There were kids at that baby shower. Family members. Grandparents. A woman days from delivery. And Chrisean's response to being socially snubbed was to start dialing for backup. That is not a mother protecting her son's name. That is something else entirely, and we are going to name exactly what it is before this video ends. But hold on, because while Chrisean was outside working herself into a frenzy, something equally revealing was happening inside the party. And it involves Blueface, a hot microphone, and the moment the real power structure of this whole arrangement accidentally broadcast itself to the world. Throughout that baby shower, people who study body language noticed something immediately. Blueface was ice cold toward Nevaeh. At his own baby's celebration. Next to his pregnant partner. The man was visibly tight. And it was not until deep into the event, near the very end, that he finally thawed out and warmed back up to her. And then came the detail that confirmed what the coldness was about. Blueface forgot his mic was live. Hot mic rolling. And what he was caught saying about Nevaeh was not loving, was not playful, and was not something any expectant father should be caught saying about the mother of his incoming child on what was supposed to be her day. So put the pieces together. Blueface arrives 3 hours late after spending the day with Chrisean. Chrisean drops him off personally. Blueface spends the celebration visibly furious at Nevaeh until the very end. What does that picture tell you? It tells you Blueface walked into that baby shower with an expectation that Nevaeh was going to welcome Chrisean in, and when Nevaeh refused, Blueface took it personally. His anger was not about Nevaeh's behavior at her own shower. His anger was that she had flipped the plan. The plan he had set up. The plan that required Nevaeh to play happy family with the woman who had been publicly clashing with her for weeks. And this is where the whole situation stops being messy relationship drama and starts being something far more calculated, because once you understand why Blueface wanted Chrisean in that building so badly, you understand this was never about feelings at all. Follow the money. That is what we always do on this channel, and this situation is no different. Look at the economics of this triangle for a moment. Chrisean, love her or hate her, is a content engine. When Chrisean appears on a stream, the numbers move. When Chrisean and Blueface are in the same frame, the internet stops scrolling. That is not opinion, that is a decade of demonstrated audience behavior. Meanwhile Nevaeh, for all her qualities, does not pull those numbers. Nevaeh is the relationship. Chrisean is the revenue. So from Blueface's perspective, and understand, I am explaining his calculus, not excusing it, folding Chrisean into this new chapter was not a sentimental decision. It was a business decision. The kick streams he had been running with Nevaeh were already being juiced by Chrisean's presence from a distance. She had been sending gifts into those very streams, little digital olive branches, and the audience was eating it up. Every gift, every sub, every interaction between these three printed engagement. And engagement prints money. The vision, if you can call it that, was obvious: merge the storylines. Bring Chrisean inside the tent. Let the two women coexist on camera, let the tension simmer at a profitable level, and ride the circus all the way to the bank. That is why the baby shower invite was arranged. Not sisterhood. Synergy. And Nevaeh detonated it. Because Nevaeh looked at that arrangement and apparently decided she was not going to be a prop in it. And listen, whatever criticisms people have of Nevaeh, and we will get to those, on this specific point a lot of viewers are quietly on her side. She is days from giving birth. She is supposed to smile on camera next to the woman she publicly clashed with. She is supposed to perform sisterhood with Chrisean at her own baby shower so the streams can monetize the awkwardness. Nevaeh said no. Not with words, with a closed door. And that closed door cost the plan everything. Now here is where I have to hold everybody accountable equally, because that is what we do here. Nevaeh is not a spotless angel in this saga, and pretending she is would be dishonest. This is a woman with an established pattern of stepping into relationships with men who already have complicated situations, men with other women, men with other babies, men with whole archives of chaos attached to their names. She knew exactly who Blueface was when she signed up for this. The world knew who Blueface was. So when people ask why Blueface was so stunned by her refusal, that is genuinely part of his confusion. In his mind, Nevaeh has always operated inside multi-woman chaos. Why is it suddenly a problem now? Why is Chrisean Rock suddenly a bridge too far when Nevaeh has walked across every other bridge in this man's messy history? That is a legitimate question. But here is the answer that question keeps missing. There is a difference between tolerating a man's chaos from the outside and being asked to platform it at your own child's celebration. Nevaeh did not leave. She did not make a scene. She simply declined to smile for a photograph with a woman she does not respect, at the one event that was supposed to belong to her and her baby. If that is the crime of the century, then lock up half the pregnant women in America. Meanwhile, back outside, the situation was escalating towards something genuinely dangerous, and that is when an unlikely voice of reason entered the chat. Coach Calvin. Now, if you know, you know. Calvin is connected to Chrisean's world, a mentor figure, somebody she actually listens to, or at least somebody positioned where she is supposed to listen. And somebody at that baby shower, and Chrisean was desperate to find out who got Calvin on the phone to talk her down. The audio from that exchange is telling. Calvin is pleading with her in real time. Respect the baby shower. Respect the situation. There is a pregnant woman in there. There are children in there. Do not do this. And Chrisean's response, I am paraphrasing her energy, not her exact words, was essentially, respect my son first. And then her attention snapped to the real betrayal, which in her mind was not Nevaeh at all. It was the mystery caller. Who called Coach Calvin on me? She asked it over and over. She was ready to call Calvin's wife about it. Think about that. In the middle of demanding a fade outside a baby shower, the thing that truly wounded Chrisean Rock was that somebody in that building had enough sense and enough care to call the one person who might stop her, and she experienced that as a violation. Let that sink in. The intervention hurt her more than the insult. And while Calvin was trying to walk her off the ledge, Chrisean was doubling down for her audience. She kept insisting this was all about Junior. Anybody who talks about my son gets the fade. My son, my son, my son. She said it so many times it stopped sounding like a defense and started sounding like a script, because that is precisely what it was. And I know some of y'all are already typing in the comments, so let me beat you to it. Yes, a mother defending her child is righteous. Yes, Nevaeh's comment was harsh. We are not debating whether the comment stung. We are examining whether that comment is what this was actually about. And the evidence says no. The evidence screams no. And in a few minutes, when we do the full autopsy on that comment itself, you are going to see that Chrisean Rock is not even mad at what Nevaeh actually said, she is mad at a version of the comment that Nevaeh never uttered. So let us do that autopsy right now. Let us take the comment that supposedly started a war and examine it under the light, because this is the moment the entire narrative Chrisean Rock has built, the lives, the threats, the crew phone calls, the whole performance, comes apart at the seams. Nevaeh called Chrisean a baby disabler. Ugly? Absolutely. Provocative? Without question. But now do the reading comprehension that almost nobody covering this story bothered to do. That insult was not aimed at the child. It was aimed at the parent. Nevaeh did not say a single negative word about Chrisean Jr. himself. She did not mock him. She did not ridicule his condition. She did not punch down at a toddler. What Nevaeh said, in the harshest packaging imaginable, was an accusation about cause. Her claim was that Junior's struggles exist because of choices Chrisean made while carrying him. The child is not the insult in that sentence. The child is the evidence in that sentence. The insult lands on one person and one person only, Chrisean. And that distinction is everything, because it reframes what Chrisean Rock has been doing ever since. She has spent days telling her audience that Nevaeh spoke on her son. No. Nevaeh spoke on Chrisean. Nevaeh aimed at the mother, not the boy. And Chrisean knows it. You can tell she knows it, because of how hard she is working to move the target. Every live, every rant adjacent appearance, it is my son this, my son that, anybody who talks about my son. She is relocating the impact point of the insult from herself onto her child, because an attack on her child justifies outrage, and an attack on her parenting justifies nothing but a mirror. And here is where the receipts matter, because this conversation does not happen in a vacuum. The reason Nevaeh's accusation detonated the way it did is that the public has footage. The world watched Chrisean pour liquor from a bottle into a cup and drink it on camera during her pregnancy. That is not a rumor. That is not a blog speculation. That is not an enemy's accusation. That is archived, time-stamped, self-produced content. And recently, very recently, Chrisean has been on live trying to reframe even that, suggesting it was juice, suggesting the internet misread what the whole internet watched with its own eyes. She has been fighting narratives, as she puts it. But those are not narratives other people built around her. Those are recordings she broadcast herself. There is a difference between being misrepresented and being replayed. So when Nevaeh fired that shot, she was not inventing a smear. She was weaponizing footage. Cruel. Sure. Below the belt. Arguably. But aimed squarely at Chrisean's documented choices, not at Jr. And Chrisean, rather than absorb that or dispute the underlying record, chose the one move available to her. She reparented the insult onto her son and went to war in his name. Now watch how the goal posts keep moving, because this is the part that should make every honest observer's eyebrows touch their hairline. If this was truly about Jr., truly, sincerely, in Chrisean's bones about Jr., then the moment she arrived at that baby shower, the first words out of her mouth at that door should have been about that comment. What did you say about my son? Stand on it. Say it to my face. That is the script of a mother defending her child. Instead, the record shows she arrived expecting to party. The anger only ignited when the hospitality did not. And then, once ignited, it was retrofitted with a justification. That is not defense of a child. That is decoration of a grudge. And the escalation since then has stripped away whatever ambiguity remained. Because Chrisean did not just get angry and go home. She got on live and started assembling. Calling Marsh. Calling for a car. Announcing she had addresses. Promising to come back. If you listen closely to the evolution of her own words across that day, you can hear the moment the plan changed. Early on, the framing was that she herself might square up. Later, the framing shifted toward bringing people who would. Read that again, because it matters. She moved from "I'm pulling up" to "we're pulling up." From personal outrage to organized response. Against a pregnant woman. At a baby shower. When someone reaches the point of delegating violence, we are no longer talking about emotion. We are talking about intention. And intention is the thing courts care about, which, given that Chrisean is already navigating legal trouble over something as basic as a driver's license, is a consideration she seems spectacularly uninterested in. But we are still not at the bottom of this. Because there is one more layer, and it is the layer nobody wants to say out loud, so I will say it. Part of what is fueling Chrisean right now has nothing to do with Nevaeh's comment and nothing to do with that door. It is the event itself. Chrisean had Blueface's baby, and there was no baby shower. No balloon arch. No family flying in. No catered celebration with cameras capturing a glowing mother-to-be. Whatever complicated history those two share, that particular milestone never happened for her. And now she is watching Nevaeh, the new woman, the woman with the due date, receive the full production. The celebration she never got, thrown by the same man, 3 hours late to it because he was with her. Imagine carrying that into that driveway. It does not excuse a single thing that followed. Not the threats, not the crew calls, not any of it. But it explains the temperature. She did not pull up to defend Junior's honor. She pulled up to attend a coronation she thought she had been invited to co-star in, at the party she never had, and when the doors stayed shut, every unprocessed thing she has been carrying about her place in Blueface world came out of her at once. That is the autopsy. That is what this was. Not a mother's defense, a woman's displacement. And let me be clear about something before anybody twists what I just said. Explaining a wound is not excusing a crime. Empathy is not amnesty. You can understand exactly why Chrisean felt the way she felt standing outside that baby shower, and still hold the line on the obvious truth. None of it, not the comment, not the door, not the party she never got, not the 3 hours Blueface spent with her instead of at his own celebration, none of it justifies threatening a pregnant woman. That line is not blurry. That line is not situational. That line is bright, and Chrisean sprinted across it on camera, in front of an audience, while announcing she had addresses. Because let us not lose sight of who was standing in the blast radius of all this. There is a baby who has not even been born yet, and before that child takes a first breath, the internet has already archived hours of footage of adults threatening violence at the party thrown to welcome them. That baby will grow up and one day be able to watch all of this. The threats. The screaming. The crew calls. The hot mic. Everything. That is the inheritance being assembled for these children, not by bloggers, not by channels like this one reporting on it after the fact, but by the principals themselves, live, unfiltered, and proud of it in the moment. And Junior, sweet Junior, is already living inside that archive. That is the part that should sit heavy with everybody watching this. Because in Chrisean Rock's framing, everything she did that day was for him. For his name. For his honor. But here is what actually happened to his name that day. It was attached to a live stream where his mother threatened a pregnant woman. It was attached to footage of a mother driving on a revoked license hours after court. It was attached to crew calls and door knocking and fade demands. Whatever Nevaeh said about that baby, however harsh, however pointed, it did a fraction of the damage to his public story that a single afternoon of his mother's response did. She did not defend his name. She spent it. And I need to say this next part with my whole chest, because somebody has to. The people around Chrisean Rock who genuinely love her, and I believe some of them do, need to stop calling her coach only when she is already standing on a porch threatening people. Calvin's heart was in the right place on that phone call. But that phone call was a bandage on an artery. This is a woman who has been cycling through the same pattern for years now, the blow-up, the live, the threats, the apology or the doubling down, the next blow-up, and every cycle leaves the stakes a little higher and the margin for error a little thinner. She has a revoked license she drives on anyway. She has open legal matters she treats like scheduling conflicts. She has a small child whose name she is publicly tying to confrontations. And she has a circle that, far too often, monetizes the chaos instead of interrupting it. Somebody in that woman's life needs to love her enough to be hated by her for a while. Because the direction this road runs does not have a good ending, and everybody watching knows it, even if nobody in her corner is willing to say it to her face. Now let us talk about where this goes from here, because this story is not over, it is metastasizing. First, the legal layer. Nevaeh is not playing. By all indications, the aftermath of this baby shower has already moved past blogs and lives and into paperwork, the kind with case numbers. When a pregnant woman is threatened at her own baby shower, on camera, by somebody announcing they have addresses and calling for cars, that is not drama anymore. That is a file folder in somebody's office. And Chrisean Rock, who could not keep herself out of the driver's seat the same morning she stood in a courtroom, is not exactly approaching her legal exposure with the seriousness of a woman who understands what a judge can do. Every clip from that day, every single one, is now potential evidence. She did not just escalate a feud. She documented it for the prosecution, gift-wrapped, with her face on camera and her voice on the audio. Second, the Blueface layer. Watch this man carefully in the coming weeks, because his behavior is the tell. He spent that baby shower furious at Nevaeh for not welcoming Chrisean. He spent the hours before it with Chrisean. His microphone told on him. The question now is which direction he leans once the money and the pressure start pulling opposite directions. Because here is the calculation he cannot escape, Chrisean is the bigger draw, but Nevaeh is carrying his child, and Nevaeh now has every incentive, legal, personal, and financial, to make him choose. And if history is any guide, Blueface will attempt to choose both, which is functionally the same as choosing chaos, which is how we got a threatened baby shower in the first place. Third, and this is the one nobody is asking loudly enough, the Nevaeh layer. Everybody has spent days discussing whether Nevaeh was right or wrong to shut that door. Almost nobody is discussing what Nevaeh does next. Because a woman who will stand on a comment from Baltimore in front of the whole internet, who will flip a plan arranged by her own partner at her own event, who is now reportedly exploring legal options, that woman is not exiting this storyline quietly. Nevaeh has the sympathy of the moment, she has the moral high ground of the moment, and she has a due date that guarantees the cameras are not going anywhere. Do not be surprised when Nevaeh stops being a character in Chrisean's story and starts being the author of her own. And through all three layers, the same uncomfortable truth keeps humming underneath, everybody in this situation is, to some degree, performing. Blueface performed a baby shower while angry at the guest of honor. Chrisean performed maternal outrage to mask social rejection. Nevaeh performed peace with a plan she had privately vetoed. Even the olive branches were content. Those gifts in the stream chat were not sent from the heart, they were sent from the strategy deck. The only two people in this entire saga who are not performing are the two who cannot perform, Junior, who did not ask to be a justification, and an unborn baby who did not ask to be a backdrop. Two children, one already here and one on the way, and every adult in the frame is spending them like currency. And while we are talking about performance, let us rewind one more layer, because there is a detail from the weeks before this baby shower that completes the picture, the gift situation. Before any of this exploded, Chrisean had been sliding into the kick streams that Blueface was running with Nevaeh and dropping gifts into the chat. On the surface, that reads as support. A co-parent being gracious. Peace offerings in digital form. And maybe, in some alternate universe, that is all it was. But Nevaeh did not read it that way. Nevaeh read it as a territorial flag being planted in the middle of her own stream, a reminder, delivered in front of her entire audience, that the other woman in this arrangement was still watching, still present, still capable of shifting the energy of the room without even being in it. That reading is what produced the comment. The comment that produced the live. The live that produced the pull-up. The pull-up that produced the door. Do you see the chain? Every single link in this disaster was visible in advance. Nobody tripped into this. Everybody walked in with their eyes open, each one betting that somebody else would blink first. And the aftermath is already telling us who blinked and who did not. In the hours since that baby shower, the fallout has not cooled, it has scattered. Reports are circulating of heated confrontations spilling well beyond the shower itself, of friends of the parties involved catching strays in street-level arguments, of family members being dragged into disputes they never signed up for. The blogs cannot even keep the timeline straight anymore, because the timeline is moving faster than the upload schedule. What we can say with confidence is this: the energy that was outside the baby shower did not dissipate when the decorations came down. It relocated. It is moving through group chats, through lives, through parking lots. And every new clip that surfaces adds another page to a story that stopped being entertainment the moment threats were aimed at a pregnant woman, and started being something the legal system may ultimately have to narrate for everybody involved. That is the story. Not a crashed baby shower. Not a jealous ex. Not a mother defending her son. A business arrangement dressed up as a family, detonating on schedule, with children absorbing the shockwave. And the most chilling part is not what happened yesterday, it is how rehearsed it all felt. The invite was arranged. The stream gifts were arranged. The drop-off was arranged. The only thing that was not arranged was Nevaeh's refusal, and one woman's closed door was enough to turn choreography into a crime scene. Think about how fragile that machine is. Think about what happens the next time somebody declines to follow the script. Because there will be a next time. With this group, there is always a next time. So now I want to hear from you, because you already know this community does not bite its tongue. Number 1, do you believe Chrisean Rock pulled up to that baby shower for Junior, or for herself? And before you answer, remember the timeline: the comment came before the shower, and the rage came after the door. Number 2, was Nevaeh wrong for refusing to welcome Chrisean in, or was that the one moment of sanity in the entire day? Number 3, and this is the one I really want answered: does Blueface deserve any grace here, or is he the engineer of every ounce of this? Get in those comments, respectfully, and let us talk about it. And if somebody you know is still out here calling this a random crash out, send them this video, because the timeline is right here, and the timeline does not lie. And listen, if the last 48 hours are any indication, this situation is moving fast. There are already reports of confrontation spilling past that baby shower, and if even half of what is being whispered about the aftermath is true, the next upload on this channel is going to make this one look calm. So make sure you are subscribed with that bell on, because when the next piece drops, you are going to want it immediately. Until then, keep Junior in your prayers. Keep that unborn baby in your prayers. And keep your eyes open, because in this story, the loudest person in the frame is almost never the one telling the truth. I love y'all. Be safe out there. And I will see you on the next one.